totally.
How does one try to combat this kind of mind control?
I think number one is awareness. You have to know that the technology exists, and it's nothing to do with pathology or that you're not crazy or whatever. But there's a good exercise. I just read it from a German doctor, that you can sort of for just 1 minute do certain exercises like this for 20 seconds. You sort of disassociate.
Yes.
Then do the same with your ears for 20 seconds, and then do this 2-3 times a day. I couldn't understand how that could work, but I've done it, and it does work. It does work. So that's one thing that you can do.
Does this sort of subtly release tensions in the muscles of the brain?
That's right.
Does it
Yeah,
feed,
that's what he seems to instruct. So at least that's something that you can try, and then you have to tell others, because even if they don't believe you, then somebody else tells them, somebody else, a third, fourth, fifth person, then they start seeing that there's something terribly, terribly wrong with planet Earth today and the people who are on the top. Well, you can do it with many, many, many kinds of things, but I think the very usual one is with electromagnetic fields. You're being beamed at a certain frequency. And when that frequency hits you, they have certain frequencies for certain feelings. A feeling of touch, of eyes, of ears, whatever. They have each frequency.
What sort of frequencies are we talking about? Are we talking extra low frequencies? ELF?
Well, like some 25 hertz or 9 hertz or whatever.
Yeah.
And then another thing is they are using drugs. And for instance...
is this in our food? I mean, we've heard of the fluoride debate for fluoride in water.
Well, that's one way. I mean, putting into water and putting into your food all kinds of things that are not good for you. And they know it very well that they're not good for us. That affects also your brain activity and your psyche. But
that's involved with the food which the European Union are forcing on us, the types of
chemicals. Well, Americans are mostly forcing it, the American companies, but with gene-modified food and things like that, and we do not know, and nobody knows what's going to happen, because they experiment on long range, and we don't know what happens in a year or 20 years. Just like we don't know what happens, except we start knowing now what happens with mobile phones in 20 years. They cause brain tumors and blindness and deafness and cancer and whatever. It's totally, totally known. But it's experimentation on a long range.
Do you think that those frequencies and those devices are specifically selected to test on us? Do you think they're changing the species, or trying to kill us or change us or whatever?
Well, at least they're making us very sick. And since the goal that I have read of the elite, if I can use that word, is to diminish our population on planet Earth by at least 2/3, maybe even 5 billion. So that's very, very negative.
Can you explore that more? I mean, we're facing this new disease which is coming out, the
swine
flu.
Oh, that's just rubbish.
That
is really rubbish. It's not the swine flu that's dangerous, it's the injections. Because it's supposedly, it's not only swine, but it is human virus mixed with swine virus, mixed with bird virus. And of course, behind the whole thing is to diminish world population, because it's very toxic, and to get milliards and milliards and milliards into the pockets of those who put them out. Rumsfeld is an owner also in one of the big drug companies. And since they want to diminish the population, so they start saying that children and pregnant women are the first ones. Eliminate the next generation.
So you've been trying to alert certain governments about this?
Not governments, but I have written information to Finland, because I don't think it's going to work. Because even if W.H.O...
It has been tried before in the late 70s with...
Yes, 76 they had in the States the swine flu, and it was stopped, the injections, after 3 weeks, because so many people died or got Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is their neurology was destroyed. So now they're making a little adjustment and doing it the same. And before that, they have also made sure in the States that people don't get compensation for the damage in their health, because previously, 76, they had to pay big amounts. Like, in the States, their compensation is big when you destroy somebody's health. But now they have a law in the States that these companies are not liable, nothing in compensation if the patient is killed or if the patient is sick for life. So they have really thought about it.
So they can poison us and kill us and get away with it scot-free.
That's right.
So how is this happening? How are so many governments allowing this to just happen?
Because they're not allowing it yet, because nobody has done anything yet. They are just having a scary program in the mass media. All mass media says, oh, it's going to be terrible. Now it's something, bang, bang, bang. It's a scary propaganda. And people get scared because they don't know. Now, W.H.O. has ordered that, everybody has to be by force injected. Previously, WHO did not have this ability to tell them to force any government, because it was only recommendations. But it was 97, 98, I recall, that they signed with 194, was it, states about that if there is a pandemic, or real serious pandemic, so then they give an order. Now, in the beginning of June, WHO said pandemic 6, that's the highest. Now, go to any country in the world, people are not sick. There are not millions in swine influenza. So this was just done to force people and prepare the governments to give injections by force. But it's not going to work. I don't think Norway is going to do it.
So do you think the figures released by the World Health Organization are actually false? Or
of course they are. Of course. But you have to remember, why do they do this? Always remember who benefits. Who benefits? They have been forced, in my mind, to do this. And by whom? Big Pharma. Big Pharma, which is, deals with the world population and the world money and all this. It's milliards.
So what's the ultimate strategy, do you think, that's happening with this? What's their target? What's their intent?
The target is to get rid of so many people as possible and to get as much money for them as possible. But I think they have calculated wrong this time, because already in the Bilderberg meeting, 14th and 15th of May this year, 2009, in Hellas, there was almost a split when they were discussing this. And I can well imagine that people normally, attending, do not always agree with Mr. Kissinger's plan to eliminate a great deal of world population. And now, for instance, yesterday, the Finnish government made a decision, changed laws, which is very interesting. Changed laws that swine influenza is not anymore on the list of being a dangerous, serious, contaminating disease. And that means that, of course, then people have to pay for themselves. It's a money question too. But in my mind, of course, this is a legal question for the lawyers. But in my mind, if something is not a dangerous, contaminating disease, you cannot be forced to take an injection, right? So I think they were very, very smart. Also, I just read that from the Folk Institute of Health in Norway, that director had said that there has never been many meaning to force people to take, but they can take an injection, and I hope nobody does, especially not children, especially not pregnant women, and actually nobody.
Where do you think the strategy of all these kind of things, the mind control and the involvement with kinds of ETs, is there an extraterrestrial element here?
A very good question, because of course...
In other words, how much in bed are the secret authorities in bed with the authorities?
There's a lot of disinformation, especially from the States. They claim that they have ETs in Area 51, and one specifically, a gentleman I know from UFO conferences stated that he has been sitting in the same table with an ET, and they put on a was it blue or white shirt on him so that he would look more human. I think that's just BS. But the contacts that exist are both physical and mental, and I think the mental contacts are much, much more important, because they happen with just anybody. The physical contacts with the military when there's a crushed UFO, and if they get alien bodies, or if they get alive aliens like it has been claimed, and I don't doubt that that couldn't be true. So they get a lot of information. But it is not that aliens, so-called, would be dictating to us what we are doing. This is a free planet, and we have free will, and this is in my mind, it's also an experimentation planet, because they have, in some planets, humanoids, people, intelligence beings, that have kind of a group intelligence, and they have a lot of clones, and we are just starting, in my mind, to have human clones. Although in '77 I was told already at the TV in Utah they have had a clone on TV. But of course there's no difference in cloning a human and cloning an ape or cloning a sheep or whatever. It's the same technology. And easier than that, of course, is to microchip the human population, then they become biological robots. Oh, absolutely, absolutely, because the elite wants only the elite and slave class. They don't want the middle class, because middle class can, well, create a revolution.
Yes.
But slave class doesn't. And of course the elite just thinks that they are the ones who will have all the benefits and nobody else. I think David Icke has gone a little bit too far when he calls certain members of the British royal family, for instance, for lizards and whatever. I mean, in a way, if you think that man is a mind, not a body, and we're multidimensional, so a part of our energy could be in different dimensions at the same time, just as well in different planets. But to draw it into here and call people, you know, whatever, lizards or aliens, and no. Again, our energies are multidimensional, can come from different places at the same time.
What kind of space contacts have you had?
I've had previously all kinds, mostly the psychological, in dreams or in hypnosis, but also physical. I remember I was at that time in Rovaniemi, chief medical officer, and I had a friend visiting me. She was an actress, a young actress.
Sorry, this is in Finland?
This is in Finland, at the Polar Circle. Young actress who was about 78, I think, around that time. And I had met Andrei Puharich, who is now deceased, but he was
involved
a
with Uri Geller and the Council
That's right.
of Nine.
Yeah. And I had dinner with him once when we were both lecturing at the University of Wisconsin about UFOs. And he invited for a dinner date, and then told me that he and Yuri fly with UFOs. And I looked at him and I said, look, you're a respectable medical doctor. How can you tell me stories like this? And he said, but this is absolutely true. And I did not understand to ask, was it physical or was it mental flying? But anyway, then I confronted him. I said, well, why don't you come and take me along? I'd love to come. And he says, well, where do you live?
By way of a joke? Or...
Yeah, in a way, I just, take me along. I'd love to fly. And then he asked all the details where I live, and I said it's next to a river, and there's a plane, so any plane could land if it comes like that. And he says, I have to ask for permission. And I thought, why does he, and who does he ask for permission? I was stupid not asking it, I just thought. And then I forgot about it, and 2 months passed. I was back in Rovaniemi at home with this actress, and I was reading the booklet I had gotten just the same day, and it was called The First Contact. It was haiku poems, like Japanese poems. And the name was First Contact. And then I just drifted my glance outside. Oh my Lord, look at that. There was maybe 100 yards from us, 100 yards from the ground, there was a UFO. And I had said, just come, like, ha. And I went into total panic, and so she did too. And I prayed, I said, please don't come, because I realized that now I'm dealing with something that I have no control over, absolutely none, and I don't know what's going to happen. It was hovering there for 15 minutes, and then it just flew away.
Because maybe you didn't come out and say hello and...
I didn't do anything but pray
hello,
that
Yuri, I'm here, let's
No, I did not do but pray, don't come. And we were both totally shocked, and after it left, then we said, no, it was the moon. the moon isn't 100 yards from me, 100 yards from the ground, come on. And we tried to make normal explanations, and
so
we
in
couldn't.
what way? Was this at night time or?
It was evening, yeah, it was evening.
Yeah.
And the next morning I opened the
Can you just-
papers,
yeah.
and that was a bigger shock, because, you know, you could say that, okay, you just dreamt it or whatever. We were totally awake. No, it was 100 people who had called the police and called the newspaper and reported they had seen something, the phenomena of light or whatever, right there next to the river. Then they asked the commander-in-chief of Lapland Air Force, and he said it was a Soviet rocket, which stopped for 15 minutes to say, hello, Rauni, right? 4 years passed, there was a new commander at Lapland Air Force, and they asked about this incident again, and he said it was a flock of birds. I don't think that our standard, which is very, very internationally high, is that low in the Air Force. It was a straight lie, which they have to give. I have now found out that they have to say it's a flock of birds or planet Venus or whatever, Soyuz. They have to say that if they have had no permission to say that it was a UFO, and usually they never have permission. Then I talked also to the chief of the airport of Rovaniemi at that town. He's long ago retired, maybe even dead now, but he was a classmate of my mother. So that's why we started talking, and I asked him, have you ever seen? He said twice he's seen a UFO pass past the Rovaniemi airport. Isn't that interesting? Nobody has ever written about that. Well, I only have a couple, things that I want to stress very, very much. And that is, number one, man is a mind, not a body. So we are energy. Number two, we cannot die. We can never die. Our body dies, yes, but we are not our body. And then we are absolutely not alone in the universe. And the question of ETs, humans, death, is one question.
That's
we're all
very
one.
important.
We're all one in the energy. And we can live in our future. They can come to our past. And there's absolutely no death. There's no time in the universe either.
Yeah, our perception of time is
completely wrong.
Yeah.
But we're here to learn. We're here for some reason. And one of the reasons is that, in my mind, this is a very negative planet, because we kill our own race. We eat our brothers, that is, meat of animals. And it's not only that we slaughter them, but we also hunt them. And when you or anybody has had a cat or a dog or a cow or whatever, horse, you absolutely know that there's a consciousness in them. They feel, they love, they hate, they're angry. And why would we be the only ones with consciousness on this planet? When our form is different from some other humanoid forms, different from dolphins, different from whales, but they all have consciousness. So we should start concentrating on the consciousness of people. And that way we would see that we're all one. We would not anymore have wars and killings and things like that. But before that, the elite, who wants only power and money, has to change. And it's up to every one of us to send them love and light, change.